And we're delighted to say joining us now from Florida is GB News presenter Nigel Farage. Now, Nigel, you've got a bit of a special interview coming up on your programme, 7 p.m. GMT this evening. What's it all about?
Yeah, it's a big sit-down with Donald Trump. He gave us half an hour of his time. I mean, given all the legal cases he's facing and the fines he's facing, he really is in a most extraordinarily resilient, upbeat and really quite bullish mood. The polls are going his way, especially in the swing states. He had some very interesting thoughts on Prince Harry. Harry in his book Spare talked about taking cocaine and cannabis. Well, I wonder, what did he put on his American visa form? Trump indicating quite strongly that if he's president again, there'll be no special favours for Harry. We talked obviously a bit about British politics, global politics, but the really big one is his comments on NATO. A few weeks ago, he was quoted as saying, look, if NATO don't pay their bills, America won't be there to support them, and that's been taken by many to say, well, OK, if America's going to leave, we need to beef up the European Defence Union. But in about an hour's time, we're going to start playing the clips of that NATO interview, and I promise you, Tom, he gives some very strong, definitive answers.
Indeed. Now, Nigel, we asked our viewers this afternoon what they would like to ask Donald Trump, and one that recurred was, what will Donald Trump do first thing when he's in the White House, if he is re-elected? What will his first policy change be? Did you get an idea of what that might be?
Absolutely. It's called Drill, Baby, Drill. It's to get America back, producing as much energy as she can so they can export huge amounts of natural gas and oil around the world. Yeah, he's saying, look, the green stuff all sounds fine, but in realistic terms, we are going to be using fossil fuels for decades to come, and he wants America to be at the very forefront of it. So that is his absolute first day priority. The biggest issue of all, of course, is the border. I mean, the official figures are that 7.3 million people have illegally crossed the border since Biden came to power. Many think the number is several million higher than that. And if you think about it, it was concerns over the border that really got him elected all the way back in 2016. So that, I think, will be at the centrepiece of this whole campaign.
Nigel, a lot of people over here sitting and thinking and looking at the likelihood, and I think it's fair to say it is a likelihood now, of Donald Trump winning another term as US president, being the second US president ever in the history of the country to have done a non-consecutive two-term stint in post. How do you think he'll get on with the likely Labour government that will be electing around the same time? If we're to believe the polls on both sides of the Atlantic, it's going to be a fractious relationship.
It's very difficult, yeah. I mean, what I did learn from the interview is there's been no communication between Keir Starmer's office and Trump's office whatsoever. He kind of brushes it off by saying, look, I'm not president, so it's not a big deal. But when you consider that David Lammy, may well become the Foreign Secretary under a Starmer government, and when Lammy says that he's a woman-hating neo-Nazi, you realise we've got some very real problems ahead. And I do think shoring up NATO, us being the bridge between America and the other European members, matters. I do think, we may sign little trade deals with Texas, but I do think an all-encompassing trade deal would be a very good thing for our economy, particularly for financial services. So the relationship matters, and this is why I've been hinting over the last couple of weeks that under a Starmer government, Starmer's going to need an ambassador in Washington that actually has a relationship and can get into that Oval Office. It's going to be very, very important.
And Nigel, could you be that ambassador?
Look, whether it's me or somebody else that actually knows Trump and knows Trump world, I don't know. The likelihood I'd have thought of Labour choosing me is quite low. But what they must not do is pick another person with a first from Oxford in PPE or whatever it may be, who's been in the Foreign Office for his career. They won't even get through the front door. Trump doesn't talk that kind of language. We must have the right person.
Well, you might be able to smooth over things if the Labour government doesn't have such a fine relationship. Thank you very much indeed. Nigel Farage there, live from Florida. His interview is, of course, at 7 o'clock tonight. That's it.